or shot it yourself with the JVC color camera.
Sony Betamax. It could change your whole way of life.
By taking this plate off every 14 to 15 years.
The 1970s was an era of bell-bottoms, disco fever, and some of the weirdest, most wonderfully bizarre tech gadgets ever created. It was a time when engineers and inventors pushed the limits of imagination, sometimes with genius results, and sometimes with downright ridiculous contraptions. In this video, we'll be unraveling the 25 strangest 1970s tech gadgets you've never seen before. In 1977, Coleco shook up the gaming world with the Telstar Arcade, a console straight out of a sci-fi adventure. Unlike today's sleek designs, its funky triangular shape featured 3 built-in controllers, a steering wheel for racing games, a light gun for shooting, and paddle controls for classics like Pong. It was like having 3 arcade machines in one compact unit, and it made a bold statement about the future of gaming. This mind-blowing innovation didn't require extra controllers, which made it a real standout.
This is one of the program cartridges you snap into new Telstar Arcade, the 3-way microprocessor console. Start with this roaring road race. Gun the throttle. Faster. A crash. Score.
However, production was short-lived, and the Telstar Arcade soon became a rare collector's item, a prized piece of gaming history that still turns heads. Imagine owning one of these rare relics today. Absolutely a must-have. As gaming leaped forward, another innovation aimed to revolutionize communication, but faced an even bigger challenge. Imagine trying to video call someone in the 1970s. Sounds futuristic, right? Bell Telephone tried to make it happen with the picture phone. First showcased at the 1964 World's Fair and officially launched in 1970.
To telephone her, and if we could have seen her face at the same time we talked to her, that would have been indeed an added dividend. I'm sure that there'll be...
This gadget allowed people to see each other during calls. It was a cool concept, except for one major problem: the price. At $160 a month, or over $1,200 today, it was prohibitively expensive, and it was limited too. You could only call other picture phone users by design, and few people had one. Although the brilliant idea ultimately flopped, every failure teaches a lesson. The picture phone paved the way for today's video calls on FaceTime, Zoom, and Skype. Before PlayStations and Xboxes, there was the Magnavox Odyssey, the world's first home video game console, released in 1972. Unlike modern systems, it had no sound, no cartridges, and extremely simple graphics, just a few dots and a vertical line. To add a sense of immersion, players had to stick plastic overlays onto their television screens, creating the illusion of different games.
Entertain themselves with Odyssey, the electronic game of the future, and the family's best foul-weather friend.
The most famous of these was table tennis, which later inspired Atari's Pong. That connection sparked a legal battle, with Magnavox successfully suing Atari for copying its idea. While the Odyssey was short-lived, it paved the way for the gaming industry we know today, proving that even the simplest technology can be revolutionary. Imagine it's 1979. You love music, but your only options are blasting a stereo or using clunky cassette players. Then, boom! Sony drops the Walkman Tape Player System L2, and suddenly, the music goes wherever you go. This blue and silver gadget was the first true portable cassette player, revolutionizing how people listen to music. Just pop in a mixtape.
Its taste is on my mind.
Slip on the lightweight headphones and tune out the world, whether walking, jogging, or just chilling in the park. No more annoying your family with your playlist. The Walkman wasn't just a gadget. It changed culture, inspiring future portable players and paving the way for iPods and streaming. Music became personal, and the world never looked back. Before cassettes ruled, the 8-track tape player was the king of in-car music. If you were cruising in the 70s, chances were an 8-track cartridge was blasting your favorite tunes. Introduced in the 60s, it became a must-have, offering endless loop playback, no rewinding needed.
Of course, and then you couldn't get it back in. In fact, I'm going to do one right now. Usually a lot of times that tape would get pulled out of there and then would end up, you have this kind.
Each tape had 8 tracks, letting you switch selections like radio stations. But 8-tracks weren't perfect. Bulky tapes, occasional jams, and mediocre sound quality. By the 80s, sleeker cassette tapes took over. Still, for those who lived it, the 8-track's clunky charm remains a nostalgic icon of the golden age of road trip music. But as cassettes took over music, another gadget was making life easier. One controlled with just a clap. In the late 70s, the clapper was a game changer. It let you turn things on and off just by clapping your hands. All you had to do was plug it into a wall socket, then connect your lamp or any appliance to it. Clap twice, and voila, your lamp lights up.
Clap on, clap off, clap on, clap off. The clapper
lets you turn things on or off from anywhere in the room.
Clap twice again, and it's off. It sounds a little silly now, but the clapper was ahead of its time. It was one of the first devices to make everyday appliances a little more techy, paving the way for the voice-activated smart gadgets we use today. Imagine controlling everything with a clap. Pretty cool, right? Before Madden and high-tech football simulators, kids in the 1970s huddled around a tiny light-emitting diode screen, guiding a blinking red dot to glory. Mattel Electronic Football, released in 1977, was one of the earliest handheld video games, and despite its simplicity, it was wildly addictive. The football players were just dashes on the screen, and the game's sound effects were nothing more than beeps. But that didn't stop it from becoming a bestseller. Players maneuvered their light-emitting diode runner past defenders to score touchdowns, with 2 difficulty settings offering a slight challenge. It may look primitive now, but at the time, this pocket-sized marvel felt like the future of gaming. In the 1970s, Clairol introduced the Pretty Power hair dryer, a wild 2-in-1 gadget. Shaped like a hairbrush, but with a built-in dryer, it promised to dry and style hair simultaneously. No juggling required. Great idea, right? Well, not quite. While innovative,
it's the cool part, and this is where the heat is generated to dry your hair.
It was bulky and lacked the power of regular blow dryers. Plus, it wasn't as easy to use as a normal brush. Still, it was a fun attempt at convenience and style, reflecting the 70s obsession with making personal care easier. Even if it didn't last, it remains a quirky relic of beauty tech history. But Clairol wasn't the only one reinventing everyday tasks. Another gadget was about to make learning fun. In 1978, the Speak It Spell turned learning into a game. This handheld gadget wasn't just a toy. It revolutionized spelling lessons with speech synthesis, allowing kids to hear and spell words interactively. Its colorful screen and buttons made education feel fun, not like boring homework. The Speak It Spell became even more famous after its cameo in E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Where the lovable alien used it to phone home. One of the first gadgets to make learning enjoyable, this funky device helped shape the future of electronic educational tools, proving tech could make studying fun. In 1972, Hewlett-Packard revolutionized math with the HP 35, the first handheld scientific calculator. Before this, solving complex equations meant using massive desktop machines or struggling with clunky slide rules. The HP 35 changed everything. This pocket-sized powerhouse let engineers, scientists, and students crunch numbers anywhere, handling logarithms, trigonometry, and more at lightning speed.
Close enough if what you're used to is a slide rule, which would have been the case in 1972.
It felt like something out of a sci-fi movie. More than just convenience, it paved the way for every scientific calculator that followed. If you've ever used one in school, you have this little genius to thank for making math easier and more accessible. But math wasn't the only thing going high-tech in the 1970s. Timekeeping was next. In the 1970s, digital watches were the hottest new gadget. Before then, everyone relied on ticking hand. But suddenly, bright, glowing numbers made timekeeping feel futuristic. The Pulsar time computer, launched in 1972, was among the first and most iconic. With its sleek, light-emitting diode display, it felt straight out of a sci-fi movie. The catch? It cost up to $2,000, a fortune back then.
The model number of this watch is 101. It was released in 1976. The width is 32.5 millimeters.
Plus, battery life was poor, and you had to press a button to see the time. Despite this, digital watches took off, paving the way for calculator watches, smartwatches, and wearable tech as we know it today. Before digital video discs and Blu-rays took over, there was the Laserdisc, a futuristic-looking giant disc that hit the scene in 1978. Imagine a digital video disc, but the size of a vinyl record. It had a sharper video and better sound than video home system tapes, making movies look and sound amazing.
That's not what we'll be talking about, but we're actually talking about the thing below it, but this is actually a Japanese game. You can see the Japanese Dreamcast logo up there.
But here's the catch. It was expensive. The discs were bulky, and not many people wanted to swap their trusty video home system for a massive pricey player. So, while Laserdiscs never became a household staple, they weren't a total flop. They paved the way for digital video discs, Blu-rays, and everything that followed. Think of it as a cool but impractical grandparent of modern home entertainment. If you had one back then, you were either a tech geek or just loved showing off. In the 1970s, Kodak introduced the Pocket Instamatic 110 camera, a compact, easy-to-use camera that revolutionized casual photography.
But there's the lens, the back side of the lens. This is where the film goes. This is a very simple camera. There's really not a lot to show.
This little device used 110 film cartridges, making it much simpler for the average person to load film without worrying about threading or exposure settings. Its small size meant it could fit in a pocket or a purse, making photography more portable than ever before. However, while it was convenient, the image quality wasn't great. The tiny film format meant that photos lacked sharpness, and low-light shots often turned out grainy. But at the time, people were more excited about the ease of use than professional quality. Today, these vintage cameras are collector's items. But back in the 70s, they were the height of casual photography innovation. Video gaming as we know it started in the 1970s, and one of the earliest home gaming systems was the Pong console, released by Atari in 1975. This was a home version of the famous arcade game Pong, which simulated table tennis. The console connected directly to a television and featured simple dials to control the paddles. For many people, this was their first taste of interactive electronic entertainment.
Air controls a goalie plus a forward on the other side. Oops, a goal. And Telstar Singles Handball, a game you play yourself. Telstar Handball, tennis, hockey.
It was incredibly basic, just 2 paddles and a bouncing dot, but it was also highly addictive. Pong set the stage for an entire industry, leading to the explosion of home gaming consoles in the following decades. While modern gamers might laugh at its simplicity, the Pong console was a game changer in the 70s. If you ever get a chance to play one, you'll see why it was such a hit. Before streaming, rewatching shows meant waiting for reruns. Until 1976, when Japan Victor Company introduced the video home system recorder.
So should the picture on your video recorder. Choose a JVC video home system and you'll get a picture as true and as reliable as JVC technology can make it.
Suddenly, people could record television shows and watch them anytime. At first, the video home system battled Betamax in a format war, but it won due to longer recording time and lower cost. This revolutionized home entertainment, letting people rent movies, record sports, and build video libraries. Though now replaced by digital video discs, Blu-rays, and streaming, the video home system was groundbreaking. In the 70s and 80s, owning a video home system recorder felt like having futuristic tech right in your living room. Back in the late 70s, Citizens Band radios were the must-have gadget for anyone who spent a lot of time on the road. Truckers, road trippers, and even everyday drivers loved them because they let you chat with other people nearby. Kind of like an early version of texting, but with your voice. These radios weren't just practical for getting traffic updates or warnings about speed traps. They became a full-on cultural phenomenon. Movies like Smokey and the Bandit and songs like Convoy made Citizens Band lingo mainstream.
using the call sign, incidentally, that he himself has chosen. Thames Reject, this is reporting London. Do you read me?
Suddenly, everyone wanted a cool handle and to throw around phrases like 10-4, good buddy. But as fun as they were, citizens band radios couldn't compete when mobile phones hit the scene. Slowly but surely, they faded into nostalgia, living on mostly in classic films and die-hard trucking communities. In 1975, Sony revolutionized home entertainment with Betamax, a cutting-edge video cassette recorder that let people record television shows and watch them later. It was like a personal time machine. With crisp video quality, it seemed unbeatable, except for one problem: shorter recording times and a higher price.
Betamax video recorder and automatically videotape that show while you're doing something else.
Meanwhile, video home system tapes, introduced by Japan Victor Company, were cheaper, held more content, and dominated rental stores. Despite superior quality, Betamax lost the format war, and by the 1980s, the video home system reigned supreme. Today, Betamax is a forgotten relic, beloved by some, but ultimately a casualty of shifting technology. Believe it or not, electric cars aren't just a fancy new idea from the 21st century. They actually had a moment back in the 70s. Thanks to the massive oil crisis that sent gas prices through the roof, people started looking for alternatives to their fuel-guzzling cars. Enter the Sebring Vanguard City Car, a tiny, wedge-shaped electric vehicle that looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Electric cars are easy to drive, only 2 pedals, and even more important, they're quiet and inexpensive to run. Refueling means plugging into a handy electric socket.
It was small, boxy, but ran purely on battery power, making it an interesting eco-friendly option. But here's the catch. While it sounded great in theory, the reality wasn't quite as exciting. The city car had a very limited driving range, couldn't go very fast, and let's just say it wasn't winning any races against traditional gas-powered cars. Because of these issues, electric cars didn't quite take off at the time, but they definitely paved the way for the Teslas and electric vehicles that we have today. Back in 1977, the Atari 2600 didn't just introduce home gaming, it practically invented it as we know it. Before this, video games were mostly stuck in arcades, where you had to keep feeding quarters just to play. But Atari changed everything with its cartridge-based system, meaning you could swap out games whenever you wanted instead of being stuck with just one. And let's talk about those games. Titles like Space Invaders and Pac-Man weren't just fun, they became legends.
Only from Atari. Made especially for systems from Atari. The video game that lets you help E.T. get home. Just in time for Christmas.
People spent hours dodging ghosts and blasting aliens, turning their living rooms into mini arcades. It wasn't just a console. It was a revolution. Atari proved that gaming at home could be just as exciting as the arcade, kickstarting an entire industry that would one day give us everything from PlayStations to virtual reality headsets. The Polaroid SX70, released in 1972, was a game-changer in the world of photography. This camera was the first to use instant film that developed right before your eyes. No more waiting for days for photos to be printed. It was sleek, compact, and folded up for easy storage, making it both stylish and super practical.
Inaudible sound waves that bounce off the subject and return in a split second. The lens automatically rotates to perfect focus. You can get a precisely focused picture every time in minutes.
Whether you are a pro photographer or just someone who loves snapping memories, the SX70 quickly became a favorite. It didn't just take pictures, it brought a sense of magic to the process, with the photos slowly coming to life in your hands. It was the perfect gadget to capture moments and share them instantly, making it a must-have for anyone in the 70s who loved to create memories on the spot. Often considered the spark that ignited the personal computer revolution, the Altair 8800 was introduced in 1975 as a build-it-yourself kit. While it lacked a keyboard or monitor and required users to input code using switches, it inspired a generation of computer enthusiasts and led to the founding of companies like Microsoft.
But hold on a second here. Where's my floppy drive? How the hell I just load CPM? I obviously just loaded up the bootloader and the PROM card.
These gadgets, each unique in their own right, paint a vivid picture of a decade unafraid to explore the boundaries of technology and consumer culture. While some were fleeting fads and others laid the groundwork for future innovations, all of them contribute to the rich tapestry of 1970s tech history. The 1970s were all about mixing style with tech, and one of the coolest ways this happened was the light-emitting diode belt buckles.
Loop. Okay, everybody see that? I've got two so I can make it larger, two on the other side where I can make it smaller, however I want to adjust it.
These funky accessories had little light-emitting diode screens that would scroll messages so you could show off your personality or make a fun statement. Imagine walking into a party with your belt buckle flashing a cool message like, "Let's dance," or even your name. How awesome is that? It was like carrying a little piece of technology right on your waist, lighting up the room and getting all the attention. These belt buckles weren't just fashion accessories, they were the life of the party, making every social gathering even more exciting. People had so much fun with them, and they became a totally unique way to blend fashion with futuristic tech. Back in the 1970s, having an electric ice crusher on your kitchen counter meant you were serious about cocktails, or at least impressing your guest.
Opener and ice crusher. The can opener operates as any typical electric can opener would. You lift this lever to place the can.
This bulky, loud machine promised finely crushed ice for upscale drinks, making every home feel like a fancy lounge. However, reality didn't quite match the hype. The gadget was noisy enough to wake the neighbors, took up valuable counter space, and required more effort than simply cracking ice with a mallet. While it looked futuristic, most people realized an ice cube tray and a sturdy glass worked just as well. Soon, the electric ice crusher was banished to storage, another short-lived must-have of the disco era. From flashy kitchen gadgets to portable tech, the 70s also introduced a device that hinted at the future of personal organization. In the 1970s, a unique and curious gadget captured the attention of many tech fans. Intel introduced its 4-megabit bubble memory array, a clever piece of technology that used tiny magnetic bubbles to store data. Each silver square on the board held 1 megabit of information, a small bit of memory that was very important at the time.
So I am 3D printing some standoffs because the standoffs I bought were not the right size to stand this board off the back, and then we'll get going with it.
This gadget was used in special markets, such as video games and machine tool controllers. Though bubble memory was soon replaced by cheaper and faster memory types, its unusual design left a lasting impression. Today, this strange gadget reminds us of a time when technology was full of exciting and bold experiments in data storage. A memorable tech treasure. The Philips N1500, a silver box of the 1970s, was a strange gadget. It changed the way people watched television and recorded shows.
Look at that. Look at that. That is a Philips VCR N1500. It is not the first.
In 1972, Philips introduced this early video cassette recorder. It had a design that looked like piano keys, which many media devices copied later. With its built-in tuner and clock, people could set it to record their favorite shows even when they weren't at home. This helped start the famous format wars in media history. Though the Philips N1500 won the battle of making recordings easy, it didn't stand the test of time. Today, many young people have never even seen this curious piece of history. This gadget remains a reminder of a time when tech was bold and inventive.